Hey everybody, welcome to Brian Breaks Character. Now today's episode is going to be very different from usual. I'm truly breaking character today because I have somebody here to interview me. Now before I get to who my special guest host is, I want to tell you what this month is all about for me. So we have been in lockdown in some version of the panorama for the past 2 years, and I am seeing a trend towards more and more auditions, and I want to focus this entire month of September 2021 on getting more auditions. And so I thought to really explain where I'm headed this month and to give you a context about how you can get more auditions. And I thought there would be nobody better to bring on than Summer Mastain. Now, if you don't know Summer, Summer is the high vibes camp counselor support person who works with all the students and actors inside of my program. She has been with me since day one, my very first course, my first Q&A call, and she's been on every Q&A call since the beginning of time. So she knows what actors are talking about because she's right there on those calls, hearing what's getting in their way. So I thought there was no one better equipped to really drill me and go hard on, Brian, why are auditions important in this month of all months? Why are you focused on this right now? And plus that, she is a light in the world and her name just suits her personality. She really feels like a Summer. And so I'm really just grateful that she's here today. Summer, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Brian. This is kind of fun.
Totally fun. Totally weird. I feel a little nervous, I have to just be honest.
I thought I'd be more nervous.
Oh.
But it's just you and me. It's just you and me, boo.
It is.
Let's do it. So it hit me while I was getting ready today. Like, do our podcast listeners know what you actually do? Or do they think you're just this guy who likes talking about creativity with neat people?
So I hear what you're saying. Yeah, well, I really feel like I'm breaking character right now because now I'm having to pull back the curtain when you ask something like that. So do our podcast characters know what I do? I don't know. So I would say, if you're listening, hopefully you know that I work with actors to help them get more auditions, get representation, to create systems and processes inside of their acting career so they don't have to feel like they're inventing the wheel every single time they book a job or don't see themselves getting any auditions. I hope that gives a little bit of explanation of what I do. Is that what you're kind of asking?
That's exactly what I was asking.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Good.
So you're not just this guy who has a lot of connections to very creative people and
right.
having conversations with them.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question because if you're a devoted listener or this is your first time listening, I have on guests from all different areas inside of the entertainment business and all different kinds of creatives. And I think that part of my mindset around that is that it is so important that we as actors and as creators really honor that the creative process is pretty similar for most people. And if you've chosen to be a creative, if creativity chose you as a career, then we're kind of all on the same path of breaking through that struggling artist myth and saying yes to creativity being what can lead us to abundance and feeling more aligned and purposeful in our lives. So for me, even though my students are mostly actors or my clients are mostly actors, it's so important to me that I broaden the scope to include other kinds of creatives. So yeah, I think that way it gives some context for the podcast. That makes sense. And that's why, so when I'm putting, we work really hard to put together these great podcast episodes and we get these great guests and we research them and everything. And I was like, hold the presses because my actors out there, it's September. We've been in this pandemic. I like to call it the panorama. It's a little less depressing and it's what they call it on TikTok. So I feel cool. So we've been in this thing for a while. We haven't had a pilot season in 2 years and a real pilot season. And yet some auditions are trickling in and we're starting to see that. And we're starting to see the business know how to deal with / work with COVID. And so it seems ridiculous to me that I wouldn't say, let's stop the presses, let's stop the train here and say, auditions are the thing we need to focus on now instead of just like sustaining ourselves. Like it is time to say, oh, there's opportunity out there. And how do I reach for it, go for it without depleting myself and still feel safe? And then also like, that's the name of the game, right? Like agents, managers, blah, 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 cool. But what we really want is to be getting in the room and getting auditions that mean something to you and for the roles that you really want to play. And so I said, we need to give some time to that.
So you have something up your sleeve for the month of September, and I just want to give you a chance to talk about it.
Yeah. So it's one thing to just say, I'm going to focus on getting auditions. It's different to actually put that into action. So I've got a few different ways that I'm doing this. And there's ways for our listeners to engage because Summer, you're an actress. You are like boots on the ground. You are seeing what kind of auditions are happening. And so we are, of course, speaking to our clients and our students all the time, so we know what kind of auditions they're seeing. But I have created the survey, which is on my Instagram. So if you go to @BrianSaysThat, you can take part in that, any listener who's here. And I want to know about your experience with online profiles, because if we're going to talk about getting auditions, we have to talk about the first place, which is Actors Access, LA Casting, Casting Networks, Playbill, IMDb, if you use those, Backstage, all the places like Casting Frontier. Those are the places that auditions are happening, right? So we can talk about like tricky, unique marketing ways to get into a casting office and all of that yakety blah. But I find that if we go there, it becomes a lot of a system or a process that, we kind of have to get our energy up for. And then we do it once in a while. We'll like reach out to a casting director, we'll do a workshop or something like that. I want to focus on, I don't want to call it basics, but the fundamentals of what must be done inside of your career if you intend to even get auditions. And the truth about this is, I don't know any actor, even an actor who's, represented by some of the best agents and managers in the country, who's ever said, who their representation has said, let's sit down and let's look at all of your profiles online and let's make them all look really perfect so that I know you're putting your best foot forward. Because remember, that is the tool that they are using every single day. And I think that a lot of actors kind of set it and forget it. Like, it's done. Great, my profile's up there, moving on. And like, sure, you'll get a new headshot, you'll get a new reel once in a while, but it isn't given its the attention that it deserves. So for me, this month is going to be not solely focused, but primarily focused on how are these profiles being used as tools to work for you? Because let's be real, you pay a lot of money for these things. Summer did the math on this for me the other day. I was like, can you do the math for me the other day? Well, for Summer, what was it like for you to look up that math?
Oh, it was just like, I kind of had to numb to do it, to be like, yep, this is what's happening. This is what I pay. It's fine. Like, I just had to cut off a little bit from knowing that that's the money that it is every month. Yeah, it's just like get you the numbers.
Yeah, because it's a little like disheartening to see that, right? So I did the math, and if you are doing all the sites, IMDb, like Casting Networks, Actors Access, but you're paying about $88 a month. Just $88, Papa. So I just feel like that's a lot of freaking money. And so these tools need to be working for you. So on the podcast, one of the guests we're going to have are the two guys, Brian and Blair from Actors Access and Casting About, to come on and talk with me and talk about this very specific issue and how they're seeing trends happening on Actors Access and Casting About that reflect actors who are getting really great auditions. So I'm going to have them on. I'm going to drill down into what's going on with them. And then the other big thing that I've seen happen, and I know every actor has seen this, Casting Networks went through a huge update, and it is like upheaval for everyone. Everyone's like, I don't like this site. I don't know how to use this site. Where are my pictures? All of my pictures are here. I have to rearrange things. And it's left a lot of actors feeling a little bit like, I don't even want to look at it. It's kind of like, I don't know about everyone who's listening, but I'm like a person who loves to have a clean car, but I don't love to go to the car wash because it feels like wasted time. So it's like, well, the car gets real dirty before I get it washed and then it's clean. It feels that Casting Network profile feels like I'm not going to deal with it until someone forces me to do that. So this month is Brian forcing you to confront where you haven't cleaned up your shop when it comes to Actors Access, Casting Networks, and all the other sites, Casting Frontier, all the other sites. So the podcast episodes are going to be both mini lessons where I'm going to talk specifically about something that I see going on those sites so you can help yourself, plus Blair and Brian from Actors Access. And then it's all going to culminate in a free training in September that for everybody, it's like an hour-long training where I'm going to help you learn how to use those profiles to get more auditions. And I just want to reiterate again and again, it does not matter where you are in your career. These are something that need your attention. Even actors at CAA, even the agents and managers, even the agents at CAA are submitting their actors when they're not total famous people like, Nicole Kidman getting offers. They are using Actors Access. They are using Casting Networks. So we have to be mindful of trying to write those things off as utilities that we don't pay attention to, rather than the tools that they are meant to be. So this whole month is going to focus on that. And, this is a lot of talk about, in Summer, you and I talked about this before this conversation, that like, I'm talking a lot about the airplane and not the destination, right? And the destination here is just getting more auditions. the airplane that we're using to get there is online profile. So for me, you have to be mindful of not getting stuck in like, oh, actors access and profiles. And like, we have to keep it the higher frequency or the higher vibe of what we're talking about, I think, as actors and as people who want to create an impact and make an impact in their lives, that we're actually talking about you getting the jobs that you deserve, that really fit you, that when you go to that audition, you're like, oh, this, I feel that this could be my role. Like when you said you were talking about you had one in-person audition and you felt like it was thrilling. Can you speak about that a little bit? What was that like?
Oh, it was just for a commercial, and it was just so nice to have the intention of leaving the house to act, even if it was only for a commercial, even if it was just an audition. That's all I can say about it, to like pick out my clothes intentionally for that role, not just like my top half, like a self-tape. And to even to enter a creative space was, it's different.
Yeah. And I hear what I'm hearing behind what you're saying is so many actors are starved from that in the room experience where you feel that exchange of energy, right? And that kind of, and so one of the things that I'm hoping will be like the icing on the cake or the bonus, I can't make this promise, but the bonus to having a focus on really being able to attract a lot of auditions is that you are starting to get that feeling either because of the frequency of self-tapes that you're being asked to do, or that you are getting to go into more rooms, because you're certainly not going to get to go in more rooms when you're not getting more auditions, right? So the frequency of all these things is going to just go up as we kind of walk towards this. And I feel that loss that you're talking about of that energy exchange that we want so desperately. And so I'm hoping that we have plenty of conversations about that as we go through this month as well.
Well, and the other thing is that we've talked about this before, like actors aren't meant to be marketing online profile gurus. We're meant to act. And so of course it's going to feel crunchy. It might feel a bit like cleaning out the car, washing the car when we're in that space. And so I just feel like it's one of those things that's great to do with people. And also I've done a version of this training with you before. And something you ask us to do is to get feedback from other actors and to get feedback from other people who are not actors on our online profiles. And that was a really powerful thing for me to do. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Wait, I want you to talk a little bit more about that, because I don't think you've ever shared with me how that was powerful for you. Can you tell me a little bit more? I know this part of the course, of course, but tell me a little bit why that was so powerful for you.
Oh my God. I remember it exactly. I was on an airplane to somewhere with my boyfriend, who's now my husband. And I like handed him the profile questionnaire sheet. It was like, babe, will you fill this out for me?
I love it.
Playing it cool, but like sweating. Like, because you ask we ask the person who's giving us feedback to just give their impressions on our materials. And I had never done anything like that. It's one of those things you just cross your fingers on, being like, I hope this represents me, ? Is this good enough? I don't know. I don't want to get stuck in that place anyway. I'm just setting it and forgetting it, like you said.
Well, yeah. And what you just pointed to, I think, so first of all, I'm so glad you had that experience. I love that really beautiful airplane image of you, like really being vulnerable and sharing, but like cringing while you're handing it to him at the same time, like, please don't look at this, but look at this. And that's actually what I think a lot of actors feel when it comes to their online profiles. Like, I did it. Now let's run away from it and never have to look at it again and hope that like people, it's good enough. Like, because part of it is, And I think you started this in the exact right ways. You're not meant to be a business person. You're drawn to acting. Acting is your gift. It is your calling. And so part of this is like, I now have to look at every single one of my credits and say that I really stand by that credit and that is what I really believe that I can do, because I feel reduced into my credits. And the truth is, you're always better than your credits because you're always training, you're always getting better. And so those credits are older. And so you may feel like I did good work in that, or I'm proud of that one credit, but this one, or I wish I had more TV, or I wish I had more film, and all those feelings start to come up around it. And so of course you don't want to look at it. It's like self-flagellating. It's like, let me look at some scabs. Let me look at some scars over here or something. Right. And so one of the things that I think you said so beautifully is, because it's not something we're drawn to do, it's helpful to do this in a community. And I would just say, like, in my own business, like there's certain things in my own work that I do, like I need someone to pull me along to say, do this, look at this, because otherwise I'm going to like stop at the like, okay, does the bedroom look clean enough? Great. Yeah. Just shovel the clothes in the closet. No one has to know. Great. We can have guests. Right. But I'm still faced with knowing that closet is full of all the clothes that I just threw on the floor, then threw in that closet because it's not clean. Right. So I need someone who's going to say, okay, let's go get those things out and like put them away and whatever. I'm not saying all my closets are full of dirty clothes. That analogy was not perfect, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it is helpful to have someone who's drawing you toward taking the actions. And the other thing about this whole thing, I think, Summer, is like, you and I have looked at a shit ton of online profiles at this point. We freaking like, remember that if I'm a casting director, I have two. If I'm a manager agent, I have two. And truthfully, managers and agents aren't looking at the side that casting directors are looking at as much as they are, right? All day long, all they're doing is looking at profiles. And so by looking at so many, we can say, like, this works, this doesn't work, this makes a difference. Like, that is such a huge piece of, I think, where the expertise piece comes in, and where I think an actor doesn't need to feel like I need to be an expert in everything. Please be an expert in acting and call the rest, like, raise a hand for help, right? Like, don't be afraid to ask for help kind of thing. So my goal is that, again, like I've said, this month is that kind of help, just kind of to serve in that way. Yeah.
So can I get into a hot topic with you, or would you rather stay broad?
Let's try a hot topic. Go for it.
Yeah. Everyone wants to know. I feel like it's all about the pictures. You see those agents and managers who want like 10 to 15 different photos of every possible permutation of how you could exist on the planet. Thoughts?
I have so many thoughts. My first one is one of protecting every actor. And that comes first with I know that actors, even when they're successful, often are having more than one job. And so I'm super protective of your time and money. And so the first place that I go is spending money on getting headshots, and the energy that you expend to get great headshots is really tough on an actor and unfair. Now, unfair, I say, because like if you're asked to do it so many times, it just feels a little bit like, am I ever going to get this right? And so the first place I go is of protection. And so one of the first things I want to reassure anyone who is like, yeah, I don't think I can look at my profiles because my headshots suck. Just stop yourself right there. This month is going to have value for you, because chances are if you have one or two you can stand beside, this is going to work. It's going to change the number of auditions you get. So I want to say that one more time. If you have one or two headshots you can stand by, the work we are going to do in this month will be able to change the number of auditions you get. And if you're about to get new headshots, the work we're going to do is going to help you be more clear on what those headshots should look like. So I want to be really mindful of that. So I do not believe in having 15 headshots on your Actors Access on any of these profiles for many, many reasons. One of them being that's a lot of money you've just spent. Because if you think about this, on Actors Access, these pictures are $15 a piece. I think that's about right. And on Casting Networks, it's $25 for the first one or $15 for every additional one, unless you upgrade to their premium media package. These numbers just rolling off my tongue because I look at them so much, so you guys don't have to know these numbers, but I'm just sharing them with you. So the other thing that it tells casting is this person doesn't know themselves because they've got all these photos. Why do they have all these photos? Now, I want to just carve out a little caveat here, which is, maybe you need to have a photo with your pet. Maybe you need to have a photo with your partner. Maybe you need to have a photo with 4 friends because your commercial agent has asked for that. So there's certain scenarios where, or like, I will just say when I was a hand model, yes, I was a hand model. For those of you watching this video on YouTube, I had a hand model profile that was just for hand modeling so that it was separate from my acting stuff, right? So the one gift that I think we all can rely on is that in all of these profiles, there is a way to be like, this is my casting network's profile for CESD, which does my commercials. And this is my casting network's profile for theatrical, which is at Abrams. Like, so you can actually separate them so you don't have to have every picture everywhere. But I think the thing that you're asking is, like, I'm a big fan of having 4 to 6 photos. And that be it. And beyond that, feeling like you've overwhelmed me. And I always feel like less is more. I think that I'm being a little hard on people when I say 4. So I just want to say like 6 is great. And my gutsy wish for people is like, try it. Try taking down those other 4 photos and see what happens when there's only 6 there. Or ask your rep, do you ever use this photo? This one photo feels like when I'm submitting myself, I never use this photo. Do you use it? No, great. I want to take it down. Because remember, if you're trying to get in front of a new casting director who's never met you before, they're going to click around and look at, like, let me look at some other pictures that, oh, wow, I don't know who she is anymore. I saw too many pictures. I got confused now. Now I don't know who she is, right? So that is a huge one for me. Yeah. And I just want to reassure, there's a part of me, I think there's a thing that's unspoken here, which is I'm afraid to be reduced to only those 4 versions of myself or those 5 versions of myself, because I can do so much more. And I want to offer a belief that by choosing 4 to 6 photos, you don't reduce yourself. You, in fact, create like a prism. Like when you see a light go through a crystal and there's a rainbow on the other side, we can have more of an imagination for you, not less of an imagination for you when you show us those 4 or 5 versions of yourself. Let us do some of our work. In creating the other program that we work on summer at Agent Goals, I interviewed, all these managers and agents, and all of the 50% of them said, like, don't tell me your castability. I know what your castability is. I can figure this shit out. And I think it's important for us to quit believing that old lie we were told, which is casting doesn't have imaginations, which like is just like, have you ever met a casting director who says, yeah, I don't really have an imagination, show me all the photos? Like that isn't what happened. We just don't have that. This is not what happened. They all are like very real people who are intelligent and smart and interesting and awesome. And they chose casting because they love being your creativity anyway. And they have great imagination. So we need to write that off when we are considering our profiles. So is that an answer? I went on for a long time.
Yes. And it's such a beautiful way it's just one of the reasons I love working with you, is because it's a beautiful context to put that in for us, as far as just the light shining through the prism, not being reduced. It's just getting clear. I was in a casting director workshop over the weekend with Seth Caskey, and he like called out this thing that I thought was just right in line with what you're talking about. He says he'll see like, the real tough, hard ass photo, but then someone won't necessarily have footage to back that up. Like this, it really spoke to me because this is something I can totally see happening with me. Like I might love to like throw on a leather jacket and cop a mean look, but like, that's just, I'm Summer, like through and through. That's just like not who's going to show up in like the vast majority of my footage. Yeah. And I remember when we were doing mine, I was like trying to get this really like fun looking Brian, and you just like shut it down. You were like, I'm not going to get cast as that girl. Not yet, maybe in a couple of years. And it was just like, okay, great. It's not going in the 4 to 6.
Yeah. Well, wait, Summer, what you just said is so important. And I love what you just said, because so many actors, I think, can be stuck in the, like, you get this photo and you get this photo and you get this photo and you like get the tough photo and the procedural photo and like, wait, will I ever play that part?
Yeah.
Like in the next 5 years, or that, like, oh no, not at all. Definitely don't need that. Like the old, like, I need to have a leather jacket photo. Where are we seeing a lot of leather jackets on TV? Well, like what's happening?
And like, you're not fooling them. Like they at all.
Totally.
This is really cool to hear.
Yeah, it's great.
So there's a lot here. The more that I'm just remembering, like picturing the Actors Access profile in my mind and just being like, oh my gosh, the slate shots, do I write a bio? So beyond this training,
yeah,
there's a course.
Yeah.
Correct?
Totally. So in you and I, we this course is, it's called Audition Magnet. I'll just be really transparent. This is just to kind of give people some intel. Is Audition Magnet we put on the shelf because panorama times and like auditions were looking really differently, right? And so like, okay, we don't want people spending their time on trying to just get auditions right now. We spent 2020 on representation. We spent the beginning of 2021 on like building up the foundation of your business. So as I started to see auditions coming back, I was like, we need this out there because actors are hitting me up to try to get more auditions right now. And so I need to like really put this out there again. But I don't know if I answered the question there. What was the question?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, great.
Beyond the training, there's going to be a course called Audition Magnets.
Yeah. So, I want to make sure everyone hears this is Summer and I really work hard to make sure that the free trainings that we put out have tons of value. And so in this free training in September, which this is all culminating in, you'll see is really applicable to all of these profiles, because I just want to like give a little bit more airtime to casting networks, because you and I did a deep dive on your own profile just to kind of like see what these changes were. What was your experience like of just doing that with me?
I was so glad that I was doing it with you. I mean, this theme just keeps coming up for me of like, I don't want to do this alone. I need outside eyes. Yeah. Because your own it's hard to look with your own eyeballs at your own shiz.
Yeah. And casting networks, I want to be like, it went through a tremendous transition, y'all. It does not look the same at all. And I mean, I think that it is on its way to being more awesome, but there are certain things you just can't control. And that's one of the things I think is, I want to like underline this for everyone, is one of the things about all these profiles is you cannot control some pieces of the way things look, because they are trying to make everything more uniform so that it is easy for a casting director to read them. So because it is uniform, it almost works against you trying to stand out. So what we have to do is work within those limitations to allow you to stand out. And I think that's the sweet spot where I want to live during this month and in these mini trainings and in the culminating in the training is, where are the spaces where I can still stand out since everyone's looks, quote unquote, the same, right?
And it's like the tiniest things like that you would not know where to even find, where you can actually go in and highlight this so it bumps to the top. And what if you just insert a word here that gives us more context to what the heck that project was? And
yeah. And I think one of the things that this is this really cool thing about actors, I think it's incredible, which is there is this fervent desire, I don't know where it comes from, but to be honest and have integrity around what's on your resume. And I think it's admirable and it's great. But what it ends up doing is kind of hitting you on the ass a little bit, because then it makes you like, I'm going to put exactly what it was. And that's all the information I'm going to offer, because anything other than that would be like, I'm lying or something, or like, it's not exactly true that I played. Like if you were on a web series and it had 2 episodes and that was the entire length of the series and you were on both of them, you were a series regular. That's the end of the story. So like, there's this thing of like, oh, I got cut out of the film. Guess what? That's the film's problem, not yours. You played Carol in that film who was supporting, right? So there's this that double-edged sword around integrity that actually can, I think, just gets in the way of a weird thing. Like if I'm a casting director, I just want to know you've played that kind of a role before. I don't need, if you fell on the cutting room floor, that's the film's problem, not my problem understanding you as an actor. So that we have to really learn how to dance around that, because the last thing I want you to do is lie on your resume. But I also don't want you to be so far into the, like deep in the truth that you're neglecting work that you did and neglecting beautiful experience that you had. So yeah. So that's what this month should be about, I think.
Great. I can't wait. Is there anything else that you think that you want to tell us before we sign off today?
Well, if I can break character and come back to being the host for a second, I would like to ask you, Summer, as someone who's observed like so many actors just go through the process of confronting their own profile, just like looking at it and being with it. What's something that you've noticed that was like either surprising or inspiring to you? Because like you said, it's good to be in communion as we go through this. What's something that you've noticed? And it could be good or bad. It could be, I've noticed that they get very this, or there's a tendency, or.
Right. I think like the delete button is a powerful one as far as cleaning up old footage and you know what? I'm going to shoot a really nice self-tape right now to replace this old footage that no longer really represents me. And just seeing people like fearlessly press delete, whether it's like on photos or footage, or, maybe they have a laundry list of credits that is listed on their resume. And so we can't actually see the best ones that well, because there's just so much there. And so then I just, will give them the note, can you cut that in half? And they do it. And it makes a world of a difference. And I think it's freeing for them too, just trusting that this new version is enough.
I love that. I love that, because I love what the part that I take away from it is exactly what you said. I am enough without every single credit on this list. Like, no one is counting the number of credits. I'm just going to share a funny story. So I used to work at a studio where they would teach acting classes, and I was kind of a counselor. And we got this email from an actor, and I'm not making fun of this person here. I'm actually trying to just highlight a thought that this person had. The person wrote, I am experienced. My resume is full, period. And I just thought my resume is full is such the limiting belief of like, I've got a lot on there, so that means I'm good enough. Whereas opposed to like maybe trimming that delete button is I love the way you said that, Summer. So thank you for sharing that. It's a great one for us.
Because they're living and breathing things, right?
Yeah.
We don't just put them on the shelf. They're organically they should be always getting updates. And I know Actors Access bumps you now, like every 6 months or so, being like, hey, you haven't updated your size card. Is anything different?
Yeah. And it's always about your size card, which I actually think is a little like, back off. I'm still...
Totally. But it should be about everything. And the good stuff too. Like, oh, wait, I just booked and shot a commercial. Let me see if I can flag that down and add it in.
Right. Totally. So everybody who's listening, I just want to thank Summer for being my guest host today. I think she was pretty freaking good. I felt a little intimidated, Summer. You're so calm, cool, and collected on here. Like, we need to do this again. And I just want to share with everyone, once again, if you go to my Instagram at Brian Says That, you'll see that survey to fill out so I can hear your individual experience with working with online profiles, because let's get real. I can talk to my actors that I work with, but you have your own experience of this. And by me understanding that, I am better prepared and able to teach the things that will make these tools work for you, to teach you the techniques that I know will help you. So if you have a chance to do that, awesome. And then other than that, I want to just encourage you. I can't wait to see you. It's weird for me to say that, but I can't wait to see you on the rest of the episodes this month, where we're really focused on getting more auditions. And thank you so much for listening to this very special episode. Thanks, Summer, again.
Bye.
Bye.